people. And it's not that you're trying to keep secrets, it's that you want to protect them. You don't want to alarm them unnecessarily. And you want to make sure that they're not worried about you. It's a form of looking after them and loving them. And these are things that can be everyday things that happen to you frequently. For me, I run a cleaning business. I have for the last 4 years. And if I went home every night and I told my wife or my mum or my family what went wrong that day, I would be in business and I wouldn't be blessing people as regularly as I am. An example of that is 2 weeks ago on Friday at this recording, the date of this recording, I had a $100,000 contract pulled from my business. I had a school which I was servicing, doing all sorts of cleaning activities there. I had 5 or 6 guys working over every school holiday full time, and one of them was caught acting in an unsafe way on top of a roof. Now, the school has a policy where one strike and you're out. And that whole contract was pulled from me. And so that is $100,000 per year void that I have to fill. Now, I didn't go home immediately and tell my wife, woe is me. We've just lost five. We have just lost $100,000 every year for the rest of our lives. It's not how it works. If I did that, then I'm creating chaos and uncertainty and fear and negativity in somebody's life that I love, more than anybody else on the planet. And that's not fair. I'm in business and I'm in this world to create and to solve and to give and to bless and to be a light to this world. And if I did this, it would be the undoing of all of those great, wonderful blessings that I just love, that I'm energized by doing. So instead, I went home and I treated it as a normal day. I knew deep down that I was worried about it. I knew that I was panicking about it. The truth of the matter is, making a decision or talking about something when it's fresh, when it's raw, when it's emotional is absolutely not ideal. And it doesn't help anybody. So instead, I took about 100 ashwagandha pills to help calm my anxiety. No, that's not true. I took 2 or 3 and I had a really good night's sleep. But before I went to sleep, I did something that Neville Goddard teaches regularly in his talks. And I've had the privilege of growing up in a Christian household with a Christian family and wonderful ministry where any problem that we have is not so big that we can't overcome it. And we're promised that by God. And also, any worries that we do have, we can give God and know that He will deal with them. It's a promise. And I don't just think that's a saying, I don't think it's something to help us feel better. I know for a fact that it's absolutely true. And reach out to me in the comments or email me and ask me to do videos about this because the number of times that I have been within a breath of being snuffed out financially or physically is astonishing. And I have had to, in my deepest, darkest needs, turn to God and say, God, this is beyond me in the natural, but I know that it's easy for you in the supernatural. And every single time he is faithful and he shows up at just the right moment, he sends the right person, he sends just the right amount of money, he sends the right client just at the right time, the right employee, countless times. And so I know that it's true and I can rely on it. And so that night, that Friday night 2 weeks ago, I went to bed and I said, Father, I hand this over to you. I trust you. I give you all the glory. I know you are faithful to your promises. And I know that you'll you will help me through this, that you will send something bigger to me, that you are making way for me to have space to do something much bigger. And so that has not happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. I think what I see is happening is that I have 4 new staff members in the team, and I'm being given time to train them up, to help them become mini me's, and to, hello, Red Dog, good girl, and to become my helpers. And so that I can trust them when they're out alone or working as a team to do the job that I would hope that they would do and not have to worry about l- overseeing them, looking over their shoulders. And I'll give you an example of that. Over the last week, we've been serving a lovely lady. She's in her mid to late 80s, and her son died about 3 or 4 days just prior to us serving her. And so she asked us to go up to her son's house and to give it a really good clean, to clean the windows, to wash the outside of the building, to pressure wash the driveway, and then to vacuum, mop, and wipe down everything, all the surfaces in the house. And I trusted my team to do that. In the process, because they're young, they're eager, they're new, they left doors open, they left windows open, and over the weekend, they left the whole house open. And my wife and I were staying in Melbourne. It was a holiday weekend. We were rewarding ourselves for the hard work that we do. And I get a phone call saying, David, please come to the property immediately. There's something we need to discuss. And my heart sank. So I drove all the way back an hour and a half from where we were staying immediately. And I arrived at the property, and the 80-odd-year-old lady started telling me everything that was wrong. And I just had to stand there and wear it. And so that leads me to point number 2. That is not the time to then go home and tell my wife what went wrong. But what I did do is tell her what had occurred and asked her for her thoughts on how to fix it so that it doesn't happen in the future. And that's one of her superpowers. She's a very good problem solver. She sees several steps ahead of everybody else in what can happen, what will happen, and how to make sure it doesn't happen in a way which is not good for everyone involved. So she went to work and she came up with some steps to follow and some advice to give and some feedback to give about what was happening. And this morning, I turned up to that job that we were continuing, and said, guys, we need to have a very serious talk. And I said what had occurred. And then I spoke about what I felt about the way that the lady reacted and the way that it impacted me and my reputation. And then I said to them, here are the expectations moving forward. You're all new, you're learning, you are going to make mistakes, but there are some mistakes here which are really unacceptable. Leaving doors open, not checking each other's work, leaving the house unsecure. They're liabilities to me and my reputation. And we can't have that moving forward. So we need these steps put in place to ensure that each and every job results in not only a great experience, but a 5-star review sort of experience. And they got that. They're very competitive, they're very ambitious, and they really want the best for me and our clients. So that was wonderful. So something terrible happened. In the scheme of things, I don't think it is. It's a very quiet part of town, and there was nothing really to be worried about. But the lady's grieving, and I guess she needs something to pin some of her frustrations and sadness on. So I was able to give that feedback, and I'm thankful that I didn't react immediately. I let that one stay secret overnight as well until I thought of a great way to approach the situation. And as it turned out, the great way to approach the situation that presented itself was me being able to talk without emotion, without frustration, without anger to my wife and to open up to her and to ask her to use her gifts, her superpowers, and to reward her for how good she is. And I truly believe that when you let somebody use their superpowers, use their gifts, that is a blessing to them. And they are joyful and thankful as a result of that because they feel valued and appreciated. And I truly do value and appreciate my wife. So that's the second situation where keeping a secret is very useful and powerful and beneficial. Another secret that I've had to keep recently is my bank account is almost down to zero. Now, well, I don't believe that's through mismanagement, although there are some invoices that I haven't had a chance to get through to, but it's also through abuse. During the Christmas mad rush where everybody has an emergency window clean, we took on some work, quite a lot of work, where the commercial client has just disappeared, has not responded, has not agreed to paying, has told us flat out they're not paying. And I'm just staggered because I was raised in a house where if you have something done for you, you pay for it. If you agree to have something done, then you agree to the terms of that. And so I'm out 50 to $60,000 with virtually no chance to get that money back. So that's really, really frustrating. And my bank account is down to the point now where I've had several significant bills which I have paid, and it's down to the point where I can't pay my staff this coming week. Now, I could go home tonight and I could talk to my wife about that. I could tell my staff that at the moment it doesn't look like there's going to be enough money to pay you. But who's that going to help? Honestly, who's that going to help? So instead, I've kept that secret, but it's not a devious secret. because again, I've got my super weapon. This has happened so many times over the past 4 years, past 8 years actually, with another business, that I no longer need to fret about it. I no longer need to be anxious about it. I need to go to God and to trust Him with the situation. It happened last week, the exact same thing. And 90 days after I served a client, they decided to pay. And it came just as I was about to do payroll. And so I was easily able to pay my men. So again, I will trust that God will see me through and He will deliver, and that He's a God who keeps His promises. That's the wonderful thing about trusting in God, that when you realize that He is absolutely, He loves keeping His promises, then you can trust Him. And it's every single time I completely trust Him, the end result is overflow, is blessing, is me thanking Him and praising Him. So I'm not going to go home and tell my wife at the moment there's not enough money to pay the men. That's not helpful. So I will keep that secret. And it's a good thing. And I use the word secret. It sounds a bit mischievous. It sounds a bit devious. But I've made other videos where I've said that if you've got an employee or a colleague that you're managing that is not performing, one of the ways to show them love, one of the ways to care for them after you've attempted to help them as much as possible is to let them go. Now, that doesn't on the surface sound like an act of love, but imagine being that person stuck in a job that you just can't do, that you're finding no joy in, that nobody's giving you praise or appreciation for, stuck in that job and thinking you have to do it, and listening at your annual appraisal and hearing how poorly you're going. That's a horrible place to be in. That is prison. That is the worst kind of prison. And I think it's the same with telling people the secrets that I'm talking about, telling people about the anxiety that you're currently going through, telling people about the frustrations you're currently experiencing. In the scheme of things, if you skip forward a year, if you skip forward a month, you probably won't even remember that situation. And that's the truth. In the scheme of things, they are not a big issue. And the bigger issue that you make of it, the worse it becomes. So instead, give it to God and watch Him go to work while you sleep. It's a beautiful thing. Another secret, boy, I'm full of them today. One of the new guys, it's his third week in. He's very distracted. He's 19 years old. He's never had an outdoor job before. And he just doesn't concentrate. He's a lot like me. And so at this same job for this elderly lady, the driveway is very steep and it's really difficult to drive up and even more difficult to reverse back down. And so he was reversing down on one of the days and he's crashed the car and torn off the side mirror and dented several panels. And I've always told my staff I will never get angry at them if they tell me immediately that they've done something. It's only when I discover something that I feel hurt, offended, and I will start getting very, very angry, and there will be serious repercussions. So he's done the right thing. He's listened to that piece of advice and he's called me up immediately and said, David, I'm so sorry, but I've crashed the car. And he showed me the damage, and on the phone, on FaceTime, it didn't look so bad. But a week later, when I got to see the van firsthand, it was quite a bit more serious than what I had thought it was. And I called him in and I said, Hey, I've just had a look at the van for the first time. It's a lot worse than what I thought it was. It's going to cost me a lot of money. Every time I've had a job in the past where I've caused damage, the boss has told me that I need to pay for it. But I've always told you that if you tell me when something goes wrong, when you've broken something, when you've damaged something, I'm not going to get angry. And I love you. I support you. I'm here to build you up, to give you a great future. And I'm not going to hold you accountable for this. But what I do need from you in the future is for you to focus a lot more. Because what I do notice is you're very unfocused, you're very distracted, and it worries me because things like this happen. And he said, Yes, yes, I completely understand. Thank you so much. I'll do better. Well, it turns out he had the week from hell last week. He made several major errors. It cost me a lot of money. It contributed to the bank account going down quite a lot. But I'm trusting that I employ people with the right personality, beautiful people that want to serve our clients, that want to bless people. And so I've kept that secret as well from my wife, because what benefit is it to her to know that we have another expense that right now we can't afford? I know that under insurance, we can get it repaired. It will be costly. Hello, good girl. But it can be repaired. He hasn't been hurt. He wasn't killed. He's not a paraplegic. He's not a vegetable in hospital with a brain injury. So that's the bigger picture that I take into account. So I guess the point of this live is to encourage you, to give you hope that there are times when it is beneficial to keep a secret. You don't have to feel guilty about keeping the secret, that you can help people by keeping a secret, that you can show love to people when you keep a secret, that your initial reaction, and it's mine too, that you need to just let it out. That can be extremely damaging. And so, even if you do decide to tell them, sleep on it, sleep on the issue, release it, release the issue so that it becomes something that's working away in the background. And I know that God, or if you want to call it the universe, works away on that problem for you and is working towards sending a solution to you that is much bigger and will be a much bigger blessing to you than anything that you or I can come up with ourselves. So be encouraged. Let the problem go. Let the secret stay a secret until it's the right time to talk to somebody about it without the wrong emotion, without anger, without frustration, without whatever that negative reaction is that might fester up and spill over and destroy and become toxic and hurt and worry. I honestly think that there is an anxiety scourge in society at the moment, that it is toxic and cancerous and is holding people back from enjoying their lives. And so, if you and I can be a light and withhold information that is going to create more anxiety, I think that is a blessing to many. So, I want to end on that note and I want to encourage you and I want to let you know that I pray for you all every night. I pray for you all generally and some of you by name. And I pray for blessings upon you. And I pray you'll be given the strength today to keep that secret until God gives you the answer to that problem. This is me saying, Hope Coach out, and love to you all.